Go ahead, the man says. Go ahead on with your bad self.
Go ahead with your bad self. Welcome.
Look who's back.
Exile. I'm back.
He's back.
I'm Bill Profita. He's Kevin Gallagher. This is Exiles TV.
That's the rumor.
I had a couple of days off.
Did you enjoy yourself?
I did. Something just kind of fell into our lap for Karen and me. Some very nice people, Mike and Elaine Camarazano. We've had Mike on our radio program.
Yeah.
He just got inducted into the Louisiana Fire Chiefs Hall of Fame about 7 or 8 months ago.
One of our great first responders, now retired.
Yeah, and Elaine is a registered nurse, and their friend,
frontline worker.
Yeah, their friend Carol Owen, they had a condo for a whole week in Orange Beach. I hadn't been Orange Beach, by the way, in years. They have made it upscale because it used to be the kind of, oh, I'm sorry, you got more than 22 teeth, you can't come in. That's the way it used to be.
No. Orange Beach has stepped up the game.
But anyway, they had somebody that couldn't make it for the third bedroom. And so they offered it to Karen and I, and we couldn't go for the whole week, but we went for a couple of days. And the water was nice, and everybody stayed away from everybody else on the beach, and the people were nice, and we took turns cooking, and we cooked some good stuff to eat. Mike makes the best meatballs in the world.
Tell me at least one night, though, y'all went out. I mean, down there along the Florida coast is...
Not a one.
There's so many great restaurants. No? Not open?
Well, now we got something from a restaurant one night. We got some Royal Red shrimp that were terrific. But Mike...
You went and fetched it and brought it back, huh?
Yeah. Mike made fusilli with meatballs one night. That was wonderful. I made my giant pork loin roast with chicken bone marrow gravy and
Listen to this guy.
Oh yeah, and some sautéed green beans, which I hadn't made since my college days.
Nice. See, if I would have been there, I would have made my signature BLT.
Well, it would have been good. We had sandwich makings. We had hors d'oeuvres. We ate well while we were there.
That's becoming a thing now. My members of my family recently did the Florida condo with a well-stocked pantry, and they said they didn't do much restaurant food at all during the whole week.
First time I've ever done the condo thing.
Mm-hmm. Really?
Yeah, first time.
I kind of like it.
It's like, Karen's like, you may want to pick your towel up off the bathroom floor because nobody's going to come in and pick it up and replace it. And I said, damn.
Yeah.
Really?
There's no maid service, no.
And the condo was really beautiful, and they had really good stuff, except the knives, I think, were originally made during the Civil War. And I mean, the big knife, I was trying to dice some onions, the big knife, I could do this, and it wouldn't make a scratch.
Nice.
We did some hacking and pulling of onion to make diced onion, I kid you not. But we had fun.
Wow.
Everybody was having a good time. It was a nice break.
The lesson learned here is next time you condo, pick up your towel, bring your own cutlery.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we were all talking about that. Bring your own cutlery.
Hey, come on! I know you've got that one knife that probably cost over $160 and comes in a carrying case, right?
I have more than one of those.
That's what I love about you. I got one in the house that goes into its own little case, and we keep it separate from the other knives so it doesn't bump blades or anything like that. I used to buy a lot of kitchen toys. I don't do it too much anymore. But the big thing is no nonstick pans. And so yesterday morning, they were like, what do you do if you want to cook scallops or something?
Well, they said, hey, Bill, we got all of this ham, and we got cheese, and we got like 3 dozen eggs. Why don't you make us some omelets?
With about 2 pounds of butter.
Well, Pam. Lots and lots of Pam.
Oh, wow.
I think I personally put a hole in the ozone layer, and
no nonstick.
They actually became what the ladies, that would be Karen and Elaine and Carol, called scramblets. Okay,
so pick up your towel, bring your own cutlery, bring your own pots and pans.
Yeah, well, if you want to do something that is going to stick. I mean, we had no trouble with it with some of the other things we made, and no problem at all. But with a really good oven, I mean, the oven was spot on in its temperature and could do convection and all that. I was impressed with everything they had in this condo.
Glad you had a good time.
We had a balcony that overlooked the beach where we could all sit comfortably and have an adult beverage or 2 or 5. It was nice. It was very nice.
You missed some good conversation, though, Tuesday.
Did I?
Kieran Chawla, of course. Thank you for helping to set that up. But Kieran was absolutely amazing as a co-host. Mm-hmm. And she jumped right in the spirit and, asked very probing and insightful questions. And I thought that, again, we had them on our podcast already, but Tara Wicker and Matt Watson, candidates for mayor president, they both made very good cases.
Were they on together?
No. We let them have their own airtime.
And in fairness, we are inviting all the announced candidates for mayor. We have invited Mayor Broom, because she's obviously going to run for re-election. Mm-hmm. But in my absence, I understand that Denise Marcel has thrown her hat into the ring. As of
yesterday, Denise Marcel is officially in the race for mayor president of East Baton Rouge.
Getting
Parish.
A little crowded, isn't it?
Well, you remember the last time there were like 7 or 8 candidates.
Yeah.
And it winnowed down pretty quickly. But what we're seeing here is an assurance that this thing will come down to a December runoff election.
Sure will. Yeah, I don't imagine when you have, what is it now, 5 in the field?
Yep. What I fear with December runoff elections, especially after an important presidential election in November, is that you'll get, pardon my phrasing, but piss poor voter turnout in December. And I'm sorry, if you're not happy with the current leadership in East Baton Rouge Parish, that was done with 28%.
But you know what?
Of the registered voters showing up to vote in December. So
it's kind of silly because I would think when you have 5 people in and they all have large supporters, and then you have supporters of the other candidates who say, well, if my person doesn't make it, who am I going to go for? But you could actually have a runoff with somebody who got 21% of the vote and somebody who got 20% of the vote.
Yep.
Which ought to spur voter turnout. You ought to say, all right, we got 21 and 20 running against each other for 4 years. We better get out there and vote.
Right. What you wind up with is a runoff between 2 lukewarm candidates.
They had an election, by the way, the primary election in Alabama while we were there.
Yep.
And Coach Tommy Tuberville defeated former Senator Jeff Sessions for the Republican Senate nomination. Mm-hmm. And, boy, he ran as a football coach.
I think Tommy Tuberville's going to win that seat.
I think he is, too.
I think it's going to happen.
But, boy, if you think advertising around here is bad, whoo-wee.
Local politicals?
Local politicals.
I love them because they get so vicious.
Well, no, they didn't. They all tried to be so sweet and kind, and it was like, oh, dear Lord in heaven, even if it's true. There's one guy who does his whole spot, and he's running for the United States Congress. He's walking in front of the First Church of Christ, and it's its background. It's got beautiful lighting and all that. Mm-hmm. And then in the spot, it says he's a deacon in his Methodist church. I was like, so I automatically think, so your own church wouldn't let you shoot the spot there. What is it you're telling me here? And Jeff Sessions, right up until the time of the election, ran the first 15 seconds of Tommy Tuberville's spot and then said, no, that's a lie, no, that's a lie, no, that's... And of course, Jeff Sessions, that's a lie, that's a lie. Did you ever see Kate McKinnon do Jeff Sessions?
Yes.
She's a better Jeff Sessions than Jeff Sessions.
I'm also reminded of Cousin Vinny, where they go, everything that guy just said there is bullshit.
Yeah, exactly.
Listen, we're going to take a quick break, take care of some business. We will be right back with Exiles TV.
All right.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling. Nothing could ever bring me down. Nothing could ever bring me down. Taste the feeling.
State Treasurer John Schroeder, encouraging you to visit latreasury.com to search for your unclaimed property money. During this pandemic, we've returned money to businesses, local governments, and people across Louisiana.
New Orleans Habitat for Humanity found unclaimed property with the Louisiana Treasury.
Audubon Nature Institute has unclaimed property.
I found unclaimed property with the Louisiana Department of Treasury.
We still have over $800 million. This is your money. Claim it.
Hey now, give it your best, but the broken lies to rest. Look up to the skies, I see desire in your eyes, but you can't keep it in your heart. 'Cause misery loves company. 'Cause misery loves company. Cold and hungry like a dog in the street. I get a raw deal every one.
Hey, welcome back. It's Exiles TV. Bill Profita's back for a few days R&R. I'm Kevin Gallagher, your humble co-host, and joining us right now, we had him on our podcast yesterday morning, but I think this is information that's good for everybody to hear. Please welcome Dr. William Beau Clark. He is the East Baton Rouge Parish Coroner and also a licensed accredited ER physician as well.
That's true.
How are you? Good to see you
Yeah,
again.
thanks. Good to see you.
Well, before we talk about COVID and the spike and opioid deaths and all that, you have been very, very busy lately with a lot of victims of violent crime. Our murder rate is spiking up, and I know every one of those has to come under your hand.
Yeah. So yesterday, Kevin and I actually spoke briefly about this. We have seen an increase in all manners of death, with the exception of suicide, thank goodness, in the parish. So we have been working more violent deaths related to homicides. We've been working more accidental overdoses. We've been working the COVID deaths. We've been working more natural deaths that are not COVID related. So the volume this year in 2020 is pretty extraordinary at the coroner's office.
Now, as I remember it, during the summer months, when it gets nice and hot and humid and people are kind of slowing down a little bit, that there's always been kind of a little uptick in natural causes.
Yeah, so unofficially we call it the 90-degree rule. Essentially, when the temperature gets to be above 90 degrees, we seem to see a trend, and this is not scientific. It's anecdotal, but we see a trend, an uptick in violent deaths.
So, I mean, does anybody talk about like crazy from the heat, or is it? I mean, is that the sort of thing? Or?
I don't think so. I mean, certainly, people have their different theories. I can tell you, even in medicine and emergency medicine, a lot of nurses believe in the full moon and what that does to patients when they present to the emergency room. So a lot of that's anecdotal, but we see it.
Do you believe that there may be anything correlative with the COVID lockdown and that sort of thing?
Sure. I think COVID has done a lot of things to change the landscape of what we deal with at the coroner's office. It plays a factor almost in everything that's going on in our day-to-day lives because of quarantine, because of mask wearing, because of social distancing, because of may not be able to get to there was a point when you couldn't even get to your primary care doctor for routine health care. So definitely has impacted us.
We are hearing in other areas where there are people who are passing away because they have conditions that are known to them, and they get into crisis, but they're afraid to go to the hospital, to the medical center, to the clinic, because they're worried that they're going to be sitting with COVID patients and expose themselves. And we are hearing of deaths basically because patients have neglected to seek help. Are we seeing that here?
We have. We did for a time. I think it's gotten better, but I think there were people that were afraid to seek care. They might have been having some chest pain and said, look, I really don't want to go to the emergency room because I'm worried that I might get COVID if I go there. And they might have neglected doing that and gotten themselves into a worse health condition or even death because they didn't present.
It's never easy, but we're seeing COVID ramping up. We are seeing, it appears, less severity, less people that need to go on ventilators, things like that, but it's still a contagious disease process. And we have a spike in opioid deaths. We have a spike in deaths from natural causes.
Yes.
We are having a spike in homicides. What about, are we also having more traffic fatalities? Because it certainly seems like we're playing bowling out there on the high-speed roads.
Yeah, so at the very beginning of all this, I thought, man, maybe with the quarantine, people staying at home, we would have less fatalities on the road because less people moving around. But I think the folks that were moving around pretty fast as far as the rate of travel. And so we've seen actually our accident numbers are roughly the same as they normally have been, but you would expect them to actually be less given the circumstances. So but nonetheless, I think it right back to COVID. COVID has played a role in that as well.
When we're talking about COVID-19, I mean, we've got an obvious virus. I mean, there are people out there who think it's a hoax. I think if there is any hoax, it's maybe the information that we're being given, not necessarily the virus itself. Because, I mean, undoubtedly, people are getting sick and people are dying. But I've never, in my recollection, I don't remember anything going around where there seemed to be an impetus to test everyone.
Yeah.
Absolutely everyone. Is that a good practice?
No, I think it's actually a terrible practice, and let me tell you why. In medicine, we test people for two reasons. Number one, I might test you if you meet a category where I need to do a screening process because, let's say, for example, over the age of 50, you need a colonoscopy because we know we catch colon cancer early, then treatment's better and you have a better chance of survival. That's one reason to order a test.
Okay.
Another reason to order a test would be if you have a symptom. You come to me with chest pain, maybe we should get an EKG to see what your heart rhythm is doing. So it's in response to a symptom. But just ordering for no reason, get a COVID test because it's a Tuesday, doesn't make much sense. You should have symptomatology to see what that, and that allows you a better interpretation of those test results. If you go get a test and it says that you're COVID negative and you weren't having any symptoms, well then 3 days later you start to have symptoms, then what did that test really tell us? It didn't tell us anything. You have to correlate it with what's going on clinically.
And the impact on the person in that scenario, do they then think, maybe I better call the doctor and see if I need a retest? Mm-hmm. And then also, as you put it, people are being counted 2 and 3 times. When you're doing large volumes, that can happen. It's the same person, and they've had 3 tests. I'm not so sure with all of these free testing centers set up that there aren't people that were tested a week and a half ago that say, what the hell, let's take a ride and go get tested again.
Right. Well, and what I can tell you is factual, is at the very beginning of all this, we had very few testing kits. Mm-hmm. So from a medical perspective, we had to be very judicious in how we use those. So for example, we would triage you. We'd say, look, you are very ill, you need to be admitted to the hospital, you're going to get a test. You're not so ill, but you have symptoms. I'm just going to tell you probably have COVID. You need to quarantine yourself so you don't infect other people. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have any symptoms at all, I'm going to say, well, there's no reason to waste a test because of that purpose, for that purpose.
Well, I know when I had that spike in fever, and it ended up being an ear infection, but we didn't know that, and the doctor sent me for a test, but did it because of my age and the fever that spiked out of nowhere.
Sure.
If I had been a few years younger, she would have said, let's quarantine you and see what happens.
Right, absolutely. Yeah.
I'm looking at different news headlines where there seems to be a lot of inaccuracies going on with the testing and the reporting. Fort Lauderdale, Florida, or is it Lauderdale County? Is that the name of the county?
Broward County.
Broward, thank you very much. I appreciate it. But they had shown 98% of people tested positive. And then they came back like a week later, oops, it was 9.8 people.
Which is close to the national average.
9.8%. And that kind of inaccuracy, when you go out to work at 98% positive, it scares the hell out of people.
Sure.
Right here in our state, in Red River Parish, they had a big disparity in accurate tests, and those tested, they overreported horribly. In little old Red River Parish, which has less than 100 cases right now. So what I'm asking is, I don't want to ask you about intent, because I think sometimes these things can happen purely by accident, sometimes by incompetence, but sometimes by intent.
Sure.
But what damage does it do when we're dealing with bad information, when America's getting bad information.
Right. I think it does a lot of damage in the sense that people don't know what to believe. They don't know how to believe. I can tell you today's rumor for me at the coroner's office is that do we just call everybody who's COVID positive that dies a COVID case? So, for example, if somebody's happens to be COVID positive and they have a drug overdose, is that a COVID death? And the answer to that is no, it's not. It's an overdose, right? I mean, if you get shot, it's a gunshot wound. Mm-hmm. If you have a heart attack, it's a heart attack. To be a COVID death, you have to have a clinical presentation that's consistent with a respiratory illness, which COVID is. You have to have a positive COVID swab, and you have to die as a result of those first two things. Mm-hmm. That makes you a COVID death. We've had 287 in East Baton Rouge Parish to date. But that's the rumor mill that goes around because of misinformation like you're talking about, where individuals think that there's this big, huge conspiracy that everybody that dies during this time frame must all be considered COVID, and just frankly.
And you won't when you do the post-mortem exams and the chart reviews.
Correct. Absolutely.
Yeah. Someone talked to me about, and again, this can happen. You're coughing, you got a fever. You think you might have COVID, you're about to go and see your doctor, and you fall down 8 stairs, and you fracture your femur, and it's an open fracture, and you've nicked the artery, and you bleed out. Mm-hmm.
Yikes.
Are you a COVID death? And the answer is no.
Absolutely not.
You can say related because you were seeking treatment for COVID
Sure.
when this misfortune happened to you. But see, everybody mixes the info. Some people that really don't know as much as they think they know put things out there, and they don't realize that people believe them. We have to take a break. We'll be back with Parish Coroner Dr. Beau Clark in just a moment on Exiles TV.
Hi, I'm Bobby Yarborough with Manda Fine Meats. Here at Manda, we know what the folks of South Louisiana love. They love great flavored smoked sausage, delicious deli meats, and specialty items like boudin and andouille sausage. Manda Fine Meats has been providing these products since 1947. We produce them right here in Baton Rouge, so you know you're always getting the freshest product at your local grocery store. Manda Fine Meats. Taste the fresh local flavor in everything we make. Make it Manda every time.
Live and play on the fairway at Greystone Golf and Country Club, a serene, challenging golf destination located in Denham Springs. For tee times and membership opportunities, go to GreystoneCountryClub.com.
From appetizers, pasta dishes, and entrees, La Contea takes pride in preparing all the Italian cuisine we know you love. Enjoy live music every Thursday through Saturday from 6 to 9, happy hour weekdays from 3 to 6, and brunch on Sundays from 11 to 2, as well as dinner portion-sized lunch specials for under $10. Visit our website to view our menu and book a party or meeting in our large banquet room. Once you try La Contea, your Italian dining will change forever.
Hi, I am Dr. Farrell Frugier Jr., and I am a general dentist at Frugier Family Dentistry. I was born and raised in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I went to Catholic High School, LSU, and LSU School of Dentistry in New Orleans, where I received my DDS degree in 1986. I always have and will continue to be committed to continuing my education, to invest in technology which makes the diagnosis and delivery of dentistry more thorough, more comfortable, and more aesthetically pleasing. In our practice, we are here to serve the patients. We want to improve their quality of life and to develop relationships with our patients. In dentistry, we have a chance to impact lives on a daily basis, not just by doing dentistry, but by getting to know them and being a part of their life. We also believe in giving back to our community. So every year, we give back to the Greater Baton Rouge Food Bank, Toys for Tots, and Mary Bird Perkins Cancer Center. Please stop by and visit our office. We would love to take care of you and your family.
For Total Home Pest Control, who are you going to call?
Call the Bugman, 923-BUGS.
For total pest control for your home or business, call the original Salvat.
Call the Bugman today, 923-BUGS.
Hello guys, it's Debbie. It's time. I've got a brand new location. 10510 Airline Highway, Baton Rouge, next to After 5 Tuxedos. We have the perfect spot to get all your wedding and formal wear needs. Come see our one-of-a-kind name brand and get great prices. With 30 years experience, the best customer service anywhere. It's Debbie's Bridal, Airline Highway, Baton Rouge. See you soon.
Exiles TV returns, and so does Bill Profita, back from a few days R&R. We're here with Dr. William Beau Clark, the East Baton Rouge Parish Coroner. As many times we talk about East Baton Rouge Parish, it is the largest parish by population in the state now, and it's also a parish with a burgeoning violent crime problem, and that means a lot of work for Dr. Clark and his staff. We're talking about COVID-related. Have there been any other spikes that you can relate to COVID-19 one way or the other? I mean, what about like opioid deaths and things like that?
Right. So before 2020, we were regularly talking on this show and others about the opioid epidemic.
Yep.
And certainly it's been plaguing our parish. It's been plaguing the state, the country. And we've been working very hard to do the things that are necessary to try to mitigate it with the understanding that it's very multifaceted. And now all of a sudden here in 2020, we add another complication to our opioid epidemic, which is a pandemic, a viral pandemic. And so we have seen an incredible spike in opioid deaths here in 2020. In 2019, we had 128 total overdoses for the whole year. And as of now, we have 112 plus 21 pending cases. It's 134 cases in the first 6 months of 2020. So we're already beating last year's record in 6 months of this year. And I think that's a direct correlation to what we're seeing happen with quarantine, the pandemic, the socioeconomic stresses that are happening to people, citizens in our community. People are suffering from substance abuse and their inability to maybe get the immediate help and care that they need for their addiction. So I think it's all playing a role to create a problem.
If I may presume that there is an answer to this question, and I'm not sure there is how are these people getting the drugs so efficiently at a time when we've basically had everything slow down, locked down, shut down? I would think street drug dealing would be much easier to see these days. I would think getting an opioid prescription for large quantities would be harder to do these days. How are they getting the drugs?
Well, most of it is that we're seeing recently is more illicit, heroin and fentanyl. And certainly you're right. The lockdown from a federal and state level has occurred, so therefore drugs coming into the country has slowed down for that purpose, not like it was before the pandemic. However, what that does on a street level is it forces the street dealer to create a process where they're cutting the drugs more regularly to expand the volume of drugs they have to sell on the street. And the most common trend we saw in 2019 was cutting drugs, heroin plus fentanyl together, of course, which is an incredibly deadly cocktail. I mean, you're taking two powerful opioids by themselves and you're now putting them together. And when you put them together, and just so people understand, we're not talking about a chemist in a lab that's measuring things. We're talking about a mixing bowl and using your hand to kind of mix it up. And so
on the kitchen table.
On the kitchen table. And so that is happening. And then the other thing is you talk about, well, wouldn't we be able to see it in the community more regularly? Well, now that everybody's home from quarantine, it's actually more camouflaged because people are all at home and therefore it's not very visible. And then you add the fact that law enforcement is under some constraints as far as entering homes and doing really aggressive narcotics things because of COVID, because they don't want to catch the virus. And so you put all that together, and it creates an environment where now we're seeing more opioid overdoses on the addict side. We're seeing more drug sales, which is causing an increased spike in our homicide and murder rate, because those are directly correlated with drug activity.
It occurs to me the stimulus could have come to play in this. We all got $1,200 from and if I'm a drug addict and Don Trump wants to give me $1,200, I'm going right to my dealer.
Sure, could be $1,200 worth of heroin and fentanyl.
And it could be the death of me.
Yep.
Well, I need to ask this because you are an elected office. Your office is constitutional. Every parish must have a coroner who serves also as the medical examiner.
Yep.
which means you're responsible for all medical and legal processes with unexplained death or deaths that need to be investigated, and you have a budget.
Yes.
What is this doing to your budget with all of these additional inquiries and tests that you have to do?
So our budget is very stressed right now. As a matter of fact, when the very beginning of the pandemic, I have 8 total death investigators for the parish, which actually is probably right on the threshold. We probably should have 10. We're at 8, but we've managed the last 8 years of me being in office with those 8. We actually have added a 9th investigator simply to manage the issues surrounding COVID. So it could be simply as making sure that the COVID-related issues are taken care of, or all these other issues. But I solely see that 9th, maybe even a 10th position, becoming more permanent as we move forward, because we've seen such a tremendous increase in volume in total of the work we do.
What does it cost, generally speaking, when someone calls and says, there's a body here, and you go out, or one of your investigators go out, or you both go out, and you look at the area, the police are looking at the area as well, you gather the body, and now you have to do all kinds of laboratory testing and x-raying and an autopsy. Give me a figure that's general for doing all that.
So a general figure, an autopsy costs about $2,000 to do, basically.
That's less than I thought.
If you look at the cost, and of course we're able to get the price down. I mean, if you went and got a private autopsy, it probably cost you about $4,000. The reason I can do it for $2,000 is because we're set up to do so many, right? I mean, that's our job, is to do that repetitively. You add.
I'm sorry, I just had a dark thought. Volume discounts. I'm sorry.
How do we do it? Volume.
Well, but I mean,
sorry.
it's a matter of economics, right?
Yeah.
On the other side of that, you have costs with toxicology. Toxicology is $250 plus, depending on the amount of different tests that are required. You've got the investigator's time, which is a salaried employee. You've got the administrative time, which deals with all the paperwork involved in all this. You've got my time, which really comes in on the front and the back end, and especially in the back end if it's a criminal case. I have to go to court and testify to the facts. So I mean, it's very difficult to calculate the cost per case.
Well, and you have supplies.
And supplies, yeah, absolutely.
You've got supplies, and I'm sure.
Mask, gloves, etc.
Yeah, and you have to be very, very careful about what the body is put on, and that's disposable, and all the different syringes and all that.
For example,
that can run into hundreds.
Well, a body bag costs about $60 just for one body bag. So, wow. And if you're, we don't. Obviously, some people can die in a hospital and go directly to a funeral service, even if it's a coroner's case, and we're not necessarily involved in that transport. But we do consume a lot of body bags.
I've always been curious about your obligations in individual cases. I mean, can you take the investigation only as far as it needs to go, or do you have obligations to do this once you've gotten started? I mean, can you walk up to a decedent and say, GSW to the heart, that's cause of death, end of story, or once you've gotten started, you have to take it all the way?
So it depends on the case, but the easy and steadfast rule written in Louisiana law is that the role of the coroner is to investigate and release. Those are the two key words. The investigation can be as robust as necessary. So if the investigation is easy, for example, someone is put on hospice because they have a terminal illness like cancer, right? We know the cause of death is the cancer, right? So that's a easier investigation to do than when you have to collect forensic evidence, photo document, collect bullets, send them to the lab, do toxicology, autopsy, etc., and then testify to those facts because there's a criminal hearing. That's on the other end of the spectrum.
So a complete postmortem examination is not always necessary.
Not always necessary. As a matter of fact, we do way fewer autopsies than we do investigations. We do about 4,000 total investigations a year. Most of our deaths are natural, which is what you want for your community. You want them all to be natural, really. And most natural deaths do not require an autopsy unless it's a medical mystery. A young person dies and you have no idea would be an example. But most of the other deaths are going to require some modality. An overdose is going to require toxicology. A gunshot wound where a projectile recovery is necessary, whether that's a suicide or a homicide, is going to require an autopsy. So each case is individual. Each case is investigated that way. And it goes back to what we were saying a minute ago about COVID. I investigate each case individually based on its merits, not just because you're COVID positive and you broke your leg and that's what killed you.
And before we go to our next break, you are also charged with basically being the chief psychiatric officer.
Yes.
You handle all involuntary commitments and interdictions, right?
That's correct. That's correct. So in Louisiana, coroners in Louisiana, I mean, in the country, the United States of America, you either have medical examiner systems or coroner systems. Medical examiner systems are usually departments like the Department of Health or the Department of Labor, and it's a government entity. And they're charged with one thing, death investigation. That's all they do. Coroners, on the other hand, in the United States are elected officials typically, and they're charged, again, with death investigation. Louisiana coroners, however, have two other jurisdictions. Not only do we do the death thing, investigation sides, but our other two jurisdictions deal with mental health, which involves the involuntary committal of the mentally ill, and the collection of forensic evidence and sexual assaults is our third investigation.
How frequent a thing is the legendary coroner's inquest, where you have to have a trial of sorts to gather more information?
So we don't necessarily do that in the same fashion that they used to, a trial format. That was something that was really kind of adopted from the United Kingdom way back when. But you can think of our investigation as exactly what that is, right? We go on a fact-finding mission and use all the tools at our disposal to gather that information, which includes talking to people, gathering their medical history, whatever the case may be.
But the interview process is going to be somewhat less formal?
Correct, yeah. It
makes sense to me.
Not like a jury trial would be. Right?
So what are you looking at as advice or cautionary tale for everybody as we get into the next phase eventually of COVID?
So I think what people need to understand is that when we look, first of all, when we first discovered COVID, it was new. We didn't know a lot about it. And I think the government was correct in being cautious, right? Because it could have been really tremendously bad. What we learned a lot about it. We learned how to treat it better. We learned that maybe necessarily being on a ventilator is not the absolute thing that's required. So then that concern about having enough ventilators kind of has gone away. But we've also learned that the mortality rate is incredibly low. This is less than 1%. And so having said that, that means that 99.99% of people that get COVID will survive COVID, which makes it much like the flu and other viral illnesses that we've come accustomed to. A vaccine will be coming online whenever that happens, and very important that we treat that way. But like any other viral illness, I mean, we should protect ourselves. So I mean, all this social distancing and mask wearing, some of it's taken to the nth degree, but some of it's not bad practice. I mean, it's really not polite to cough on somebody. I think
the hand washing, I think, has been most important to me.
Sure. So practicing good hygiene, maybe we should be doing that all the time. I mean, so there are things that we learn that we can take with us. But what I think people really need to understand is that we have to protect our vulnerable population, which we've already identified their comorbidities, and we also have to understand that if you get it, your chances of surviving are really high.
Will we eventually get to the point where it's like flu, where we don't have to worry about having an overwhelming number of patients showing up at medical facilities at the same time?
I hope so. I really do. Because you think about how we treat influenza, which, by the way, we have a flu season every year, right? And people come in, they present, and we do flu tests on them. By the way, we do one flu test on them. It's either positive or negative. And we treat them for the virus, which, and by the way, most viral treatment really is just treating their symptoms, right? If you got fever, treat your fever, drink plenty of fluids. There's no magic bullet. Your body is actually what gets rid of the virus. Your
antibiotics might help, but...
Well, antibiotics are really more for bacteria, and so it doesn't really, they play around with antibiotics a little bit. I know they have with COVID.
How many times people, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've gotten the Z-Pack for flu, or Cipro for flu.
Yeah. Well, this is a whole nother story, but there's another epidemic that's existing in the country and has for some time. It's called the antibiotic epidemic.
Oh, God.
Which has to do with the overuse of antibiotics.
We're becoming resistant.
Yes. And so the majority, if you get an infection, most likely it's a viral infection. I mean, it's the most common thing you get. So
we're going to need to take a quick break. We're going to do that right now, and we will be back with more with Dr. William Beau Clark, East Baton Rouge Parish Coroner, when Exiles TV returns.
So I want...
That's right, the Clarence Bugg Show is back, along with the Exiles, Bill Profita and Kevin Gallagher. We've put the band back together, South Louisiana's talk team, and it's only on the Pelican. 10 a.m. till 12 noon, right here on the Pelican.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling. Nothing could ever bring me down. Nothing could ever bring me down. Taste the feeling.
Bolello's Furniture and Appliances, your dependable independent. Depend on us for service, for selection, for price. Get huge Whirlpool savings. Shop now and save on Whirlpool appliances throughout the store. Plus, experience our price match guarantee and ask about special financing. You can depend on the know-how of people who live appliances every day. Bolello's Furniture and Appliances, your dependable independent with nationwide buying power.
Hi, I'm Bobby Yarborough with Manda Fine Meats. Here at Manda, we know what the folks of South Louisiana love. They love great flavored smoked sausage, delicious deli meats, and specialty items like boudin and andouille sausage. Manda Fine Meats has been providing these products since 1947. We produce them right here in Baton Rouge, so you know you're always getting the freshest product at your local grocery store. Manda Fine Meats. Taste the fresh local flavor in everything we make. Make it Manda every time.
Hello guys, it's Debbie. It's time. I've got a brand new location. 10510 Airline Highway, Baton Rouge, next to After 5 Tuxedos. We have the perfect spot to get all your wedding and formal wear needs. Come see our one-of-a-kind name brand and get great prices. With 30 years experience, the best customer service anywhere. It's Debbie's Bridal, Airline Highway, Baton Rouge. See you soon.
Exiles from what you ask? Exiled from the radio. But now, we're on your television.
I'm Bill Profita, he's Kevin Gallagher, and they kicked us to the curb.
But we're back.
We are back with Exiles Television on the Pelican Broadcasting Network. We're going to bring you the newsmakers. We're also going to take your calls and give you great information. It's going to be the best damn radio show on television.
Look for it on your cable system or download the app, PelicanSportsTV.com.
I owed the IRS $10,000.
The IRS garnished my wages.
They put a lien on my house.
I'm self-employed and didn't report all my income. They claim I owe a lot more than I do.
The IRS is the most powerful collection agency in the world. They do not give up until you pay.
I couldn't sleep. We were being audited. I called Tax Solutions Now, and a great big weight was lifted off my shoulders.
I called Tax Solutions Now, and they got the IRS off my back.
Tax Solutions Now had my wage garnishment lifted in 48 hours.
Tax Solutions Now can get you help. Our agents know the rules, can stop the pain, and get you the best deal.
Tax Solutions Now saved my business.
I qualified for the Fresh Start program. I paid less than I owed.
We connect you with a team of former IRS agents and tax professionals who get the IRS off your back. Time is running out. Call Tax Solutions now.
Call 800-778-4345. 800-778-4345.
Welcome back to Exiles TV. Our guest is Beau Clark. He is the coroner for East Baton Rouge Parish. Big job for the state's largest parish, not by geography, of course. I'm talking about people. And we've talked about the explosion in violent crime and you having to investigate a lot of gunshot deaths and things like that. How are suicides?
So, thank goodness, when we look at all our numbers globally in 2020, our suicide number is down.
Well, that's good.
And that's good. That's good. I mean, certainly we'd love to see that number be zero, as we would the homicide number and the overdose number. But we keep monitoring it. It's a challenging investigation to do. People ask me sometimes, what's the hardest part of your job? And to be quite honest with you, almost all of it's hard because nobody comes to my office for anything happy. I mean, something bad. They've either been sexually assaulted, or they have a mental health crisis, or a family member with a mental health crisis, or someone's died. And so, having said that, if you really tease it out, two of the hardest types of investigations we work certainly are suicides, and it's because a lot of times families are left with questions. and questions, frankly, that I can't answer. I certainly can tell you why someone died, right? Whether it was an overdose or gunshot wound, but that's not the question that I'm typically being asked by the family. They want to know why it happened,
why they died,
and unfortunately, it leaves them with a lot of questions in their life, and really, I hurt for those families. I pray for them because they really have it's a tough situation.
I've often wondered in cases like this, because families do look at you for guidance and support and for answers. Does a patient's right to confidentiality expire when they do? Can you, for example, talk to a psychiatrist that may have been treating John, and the psychiatrist say, yes, he was self-medicating with alcohol, which was making him more depressed.
Right.
He told me this in our sessions. He entertained thoughts of suicide. Can you then tell the family what this psychiatrist has told you, because the patient no longer has any confidentiality because they're dead?
Correct. So legally, yes. So when you die, HIPAA goes away. You have longer privacy. However, we try to still maintain privacy, at least I do, and I fought very hard, both what we do practically as well as legislatively, to say, certain things belong to just the family. Those are their answers. We did that most recently in the state of Louisiana. An autopsy report used to be public record. Anybody could go get an autopsy report about anybody else. The lady down the street, you didn't have to have any reason to have that. And we felt as coroners that that's just not right. That's information that's very private to families. Certainly the cause and manner of the death can be public, but the minutia and the details of an autopsy report, which are very personal, should only belong to the family. It's a give or take, but we're allowed to get those answers for them. Of course, in all suicides, we do toxicology. Even if the cause of death is evident, we'll do toxicology to see if there were any substances in their system.
I'm curious, and you can please generalize, but the idea of the suicide note, is that as common as people would think, or do some people, when they decide to do it, they don't leave any indication behind?
So a suicide note happens about a third of the time.
Time.
So it becomes more of the rarity than the real reason. However, with the advent of modern technology, certainly people leave messages or send texts or a voicemail.
Behavior on social media.
Yeah. So social media. Social media can be used for so many things. We use it oftentimes in homicide investigations because we can track the whereabouts of someone prior to their death. But that works the same for suicide as well. And we also, in our mental health jurisdiction, if a family presents us with social media and say, look, this post was my child last night, they're depressed, they need help, we can use that in the affidavit to have them picked up for evaluation. So we can use it on both sides.
While we're on the mental health discussion, you and I actually talked about this on the podcast yesterday, but if you don't mind rehashing, it was quite some time ago that we took a vote in the parish to establish a mental health intake facility, the so-called Bridge Center for East Baton Rouge Parish. Progress report, how's that going?
So it's going well. People like to ask me, kind of the time frame of it, and I always tell them it's moving at the speed of government, which nobody likes. We can all admit we do not like the speed of government. If the three of us were in charge of it, and we didn't have to go through all the governmental issues related to it, we'd be up and running, right? But that's just the way the system works. I mean, what we live in our democracy. But I'm pleased to say that it is moving along quite well, and it's expected that we'll be seeing patients at the end portion of 2020, but definitely into 2021. And it's going to be a great asset for the community so that we can now have a place for people that are having mental health crisis to get services, to be directed to other services, and really to be managed. I mean, that's kind of the overall reach of the Bridge Center, is to triage and put people in the appropriate place for the type of care that is necessary.
Well, it is never easy, and it's very hard to talk about suicide. I'm glad that suicides are down.
Yes,
and I hope they continue to do that. But there's just so many factors. I mean, again, in the vast world of someone deciding they're going to determine their own exit point, how much of it is not forewarned to anybody, even to their closest intimates, even to their family and friends, even to their physicians? How much of it they just one day decide, I'm leaving, and there wasn't any foreshadowing?
Yeah, it happens. It does. We work very closely with the Crisis Intervention Center here in town. As a matter of fact, Dr. Frank Campbell is one of my assistant coroners, who's a world-renowned suicidologist. And Frank and I talk about this subject quite often. As a matter of fact, we're currently, over the past 2 years, have been doing a project where we're doing something called the psychological autopsy. So much like we do in a death investigation, we're taking a mental health approach to suicides to look at what are the factors. And we have a lot of statistics that say, older white men are usually very successful in death by suicide, and they do it often. However, young African American females do not. And so the question is there something that is protective in the environment or the social setting of a young African American female that is not present in the other categories of demographics of people that have death by suicide? And if so, can we identify that criteria and give it to other people so that then we can reduce their numbers as well? And so that's the point of the study. It's not an easy study to do because you can imagine we have to talk to surviving family and friends of a person who has had death by suicide, and it's a very complex autopsy, unlike the physical autopsy we do on the death side.
In the case of an attempted suicide where the person survives, does that immediately mean that they're going to have to be evaluated?
Yes. So typically, if they survive their suicide, they're brought to a hospital. They're certainly evaluated medically if it's a medical issue related. If there's a cut that needs to be sewn up, or if there's an overdose that needs to be treated.
Psychiatric evaluation.
And then right after that falls the psychiatric evaluation. And it's not just in the hospital; it'll continue beyond that. People that are having thoughts and feelings of suicide. Usually it's going to be a long-term process.
Have you ever known of a case where somebody failed to commit suicide, but it kind of snapped them out of it, and they were okay after that?
Yeah. So unfortunately, in those cases, I typically don't. I might have gotten involved in the from mental health initially, and then don't hear any more about it afterwards, which is a great thing in my opinion. If I don't ever hear about it again, that means that mentally you've gotten better, and certainly you haven't died as a result of it. So,
generally speaking, how would you evaluate our complete mental health milieu in our area? Are we on a par with the rest of the country? Do we have a little more of some sort of mental health issue or impairment, or do we have a little less?
So we're kind of in the both category, and what I mean by that is the country as a whole back in the 80s did something called the deinstitutionalization of the mentally ill.
Yes.
Meaning that we had people in long-term care mental health hospitals. We decided to shut those down, inject them back into the community, and the mistake we made is we didn't give them the proper follow-up. Because we thought if we treat these folks as outpatients rather than inpatients, it's cheaper, they can get what they need. Well, we didn't really follow up on the outpatient side, so then now we're left in this really bad scenario where they need to go back into the hospital, but we close the hospital that we need to send them back to. As far as Louisiana goes, East Baton Rouge Parish goes, every time you see a facility close in our parish, it's a detriment to our mental health services. For example, you saw OK Long close, what was that, 2014, right? Shortly following after that was Baton Rouge General Mid-City. This is a reduction in services, specifically mental health services that we saw in the community. Now we're trying to rebuild that. I know that Baton Rouge General Mid-City has now come back online, and that was a result probably of the COVID,
There's another facility out on Hooper Road that's getting ready to come
That's
online.
correct, and the Bridge Center. So now we're building it back up. Will it ever be enough? Probably not. You could probably build beds forever and never have enough beds or constantly fill them. But you have to, if you work better on how to manage the patient, then you don't need as many beds.
It makes perfect sense. Dr. Beau Clark is the East Baton Rouge Parish Coroner. He is also a board-certified emergency room physician. And we love having him on the program. I can promise you we will have him back with us again soon. Dr. Clark, as always, thanks for taking the time.
Thanks for having me on the show. Appreciate it.
Coming up in just moments, we're going to take a quick break here. When we come back, we're going to tease you with a few things coming up in our second hour of Exiles.
We got Doctor Day today.
We got Doctor Day. We're going to have 2 doctors in our second hour. We're going to talk about doctors rock for spots. And we're going to talk with Dr. Mike Strain, our Commissioner of Agriculture. What's the state of ag, especially with COVID-19? That's all coming up on Exiles TV. We'll be right back.
I got to run to them.
For Total Home Pest Control, who are you going to call?
Call the Bug Man, 923-BUGS.
For total pest control for your home or business, call the original Salvat.
Call the Bug Man today, 923-BUGS.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling. Nothing could ever bring me down. Nothing could ever bring me down. Taste the feeling.
Hi, I am Dr. Farrell Frugier Jr., and I am a general dentist at Frugier Family Dentistry. I was born and raised in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I went to Catholic High School, LSU, and LSU School of Dentistry in New Orleans, where I received my DDS degree in 1986. I always have and will continue to be committed to continuing my education, to invest in technology which makes the diagnosis and delivery of dentistry more thorough, more comfortable, and more aesthetically pleasing. In our practice, we are here to serve the patients. We want to improve their quality of life and to develop relationships with our patients. In dentistry, we have a chance to impact lives on a daily basis, not just by doing dentistry, but by getting to know them and being a part of their life. We also believe in giving back to our community. So every year, we give back to the Greater Baton Rouge Food Bank, Toys for Tots, and Mary Bird Perkins Cancer Center. Please stop by and visit our office. We would love to take care of you and your family.
Clarence Bug Show. Yeah, I'm back on the air. That's right, 10 a.m. until 12 noon, Monday and Wednesday, and we replay it Monday and Wednesday nights, 10 p.m. to midnight. Check us out online. You can watch it live at PelicanSportsTV.com, or better yet, why don't you just download the Pelican Broadcasting app? That way you can take it with you anywhere you go. That's right, the Clarence Bug Show. Tell you what, oh, wait, gotta run, gotta go, bye.
From appetizers, pasta dishes, and entrees, La Contea takes pride in preparing all the Italian cuisine we know you love. Enjoy live music every Thursday through Saturday from 6 to 9, happy hour weekdays from 3 to 6, and brunch on Sundays from 11 to 2, as well as dinner portion-sized lunch specials for under $10. Visit our website to view our menu and book a party or meeting in our large banquet room. Once you try La Contea, your Italian dining will change forever.
Back to Exiles TV. So glad to have you with us. Just a couple of minutes as we wrap up our first hour.
Look at you doing Anchorman. I got these too. You're not gonna best me today.
Put them
with
on,
these.
and then when the camera comes on, you take them off dramatically.
These are for reading. I can't see crap.
In our second hour of the program, we're going to talk a couple of doctors. First of all, we're going to talk with Dr. John Lyons. There is an event coming up called Rock for Spots.
This is great. All the doctor bands.
And there are a lot of doctors that are also musicians.
This is supporting Mary Bird Perkins, Our Lady of the Lake Cancer Center. And on the 23rd, they're going to be doing a great big show. This originally started, Rock the Spots meant skin lesions. It was about skin cancer.
Skin cancer.
Now it's about all types of cancers.
Good.
And Dr. John Lyons will be with us in just a matter of a couple minutes.
And another item we talked about from time to time has been the state of Louisiana's agriculture. One of the biggest chunks of the state's fiscal picture, $13 billion a year. Has COVID-19 made a dent in that? We're going to talk with Dr. Mike Strain, our Commissioner of Agriculture, coming up in the latter part of the hour.
I'm hoping we're going to get a good report from Dr. Strain because Louisiana Economic Development yesterday, Don Pearson, we got to have him on, by the way, did a speech to the Rotary Club. And he talked about how agriculture as an industry in Louisiana has not only rebounded, it is growing.
That's why, well, it was $11 billion a year, and now it's roughly 13.
Yeah.
So that tells you, and the need for food is greater than ever. As we are, think about the first weeks of the COVID shutdown and those trips to the grocery store where you felt like, good Lord, am I in Moscow? There's like nothing on the shelves, especially in the meat department. Now, we're not known for being big meat producers, but we do have the Cattlemen's Association is a very healthy lobby in this state.
Well, and fortunately, we have become a good hog-producing state. So when they had to shut down those big, huge processors way up north,
Louisiana farmers were able to step up.
Didn't hurt us quite as badly in terms of the supply chain because the product was a lot nearer to us. But we'll get into all of that and more if you will stick with us. We're headed right now, speeding at breakneck speed, to the top of the hour break. We'll be with you for one more hour when we return. This is Exiles TV. Tell your friends, wake up mama and them, as they say in Alabama. And we'll be right back with you in a moment.
Belello's Furniture and Appliances, your dependable independent. Depend on us for service, for selection, for price. Get huge Whirlpool savings. Shop now and save on Whirlpool appliances throughout the store. Plus, experience our price match guarantee and ask about special financing. You can depend on the know-how of people who live appliances every day. Belello's Furniture and Appliances, your dependable independent with nationwide buying power.
Hello. Hola. 你好.
Experience what the Baton Rouge International School can offer your children. Now welcoming displaced students for short and long-term stability.
From appetizers, pasta dishes, and entrees, La Contea takes pride in preparing all the Italian cuisine we know you love. Enjoy live music every Thursday through Saturday from 6 to 9, happy hour weekdays from 3 to 6, and brunch on Sundays from 11 to 2, as well as dinner portion-sized lunch specials for under $10. Visit our website to view our menu and book a party or meeting in our large banquet room. Once you try La Contea, your Italian dining will change forever.
Exiles from what you ask? Exiled from the radio. But now, we're on your television.
I'm Bill Profita, he's Kevin Gallagher, and they kicked us to the curb.
But we're back.
We are back with Exiles Television on the Pelican Broadcasting Network. We're going to bring you the newsmakers. We're also going to take your calls and give you great information. It's going to be the best damn radio show on television.
Look for it on your cable system or download the app, PelicanSportsTV.com.
Hello guys, it's Debbie. It's time. I've got a brand new location. 10510 Airline Highway, Baton Rouge, next to After 5 Tuxedos. We have the perfect spot to get all your wedding and formal wear needs. Come see our one-of-a-kind name brand and get great prices. With 30 years experience, the best customer service anywhere. It's Debbie's Bridal, Airline Highway, Baton Rouge. See you soon.
Welcome back. Hour 2 of Exiles TV is underway. Bill Profita back from some much-earned R&R. I'm Kevin Gallagher. And please welcome our next guest who joins us, Dr. John Lyons.
Dr. Lyons is a surgical oncologist with Marybird Perkins Our Lady of the Lake Cancer Center. And no, he's not going to open up Kevin in front of you just as I thought he might. And it's not going to happen today. But
no opening today.
He is also a terrific guitarist with one of the Doctor bands that's going to be performing at Rock the Spots. Now, which band is your band? What's the name?
We're called Fret Medics.
Fret Medics. I like that.
That's cute.
Do you do repairs on guitars, too? It's a good name for that.
I don't personally. No. Wait a minute.
You're not going to do that. No. Tell us about the event.
So the event started 3 years ago. It is a one-night concert that comprises bands, which consist of healthcare professionals. We come together for one evening and we perform and raise money for, traditionally it's been skin cancer. As you pointed out, this year we're broadening our view to include all types of cancer, specifically for COVID cancer relief this year. Obviously we're moving it virtual this year rather than having a live event as we've done in the past.
So it's July 23rd, and how everybody's having to switch for virtual events for their fundraisers and their big events. How have the logistics been like this for you?
Yeah, it's a challenge for sure, and everybody's learning this on the fly. We have a great production team called Festigals in New Orleans who really has been very, very helpful. And obviously the proceeds of this event go to Mary Bird Perkins, and they've been tremendous as well. But to answer your question, so several of the components of the event are pre-recorded, and then several of them are going to be live. So we have pre-recorded music. We're going to have some live music. We're going to have a live feature with Chad Sabady as the MC, and we have several interviews that have been done for heroes of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
People who have had some incredible experiences during the real peak of the pandemic.
So there'll be, as we watch, there'll be some way we can online, like through, is it like a GoFundMe account or something similar to that?
So it will be streamed as a watch party on our Facebook page.
Mm-hmm.
So Rock for Spot's Facebook, you can access it either through Facebook or through our webpage, which is www.rockforspots.org.
Okay.
Those are the two access points, but then other people can host the watch party as well, as social media can do. So it's going to be great.
Well, I got the lineup in front of me here. This, of course, is this Thursday, or next Thursday, excuse me, a week from today.
Yep.
The 23rd at 7 p.m., rockforspots.org. Now, you've got Fret Medics, that's your band.
Correct.
How many people in your band?
5.
5? Got keys?
We don't have keys. Some of the other guys have keys, but we don't.
You don't have keys?
So big guitar band?
We have 2 guitars, bass, drums, and a vocal. Yeah.
Frontman.
Frontman.
Yeah.
And what is your genre? What do you play?
Blues, bass, rock and roll.
All right.
Yeah.
We've got the V-Tones, Kurt Chastain's band.
Correct.
Yep.
And
everybody knows V-Tones, right?
Yeah, everybody knows the V-Tones. They're a big name as it goes.
And they have keys.
And I don't know Blue Verse.
Blue Verse is similar to V-Tones in that they've been together for quite a long time. This is a group of guys who really started playing together in high school. They went to grammar school and high school. They're all from Baton Rouge, and they have a great following, and they really focus on 90s covers. And they're very good. They've got a big following, so we're very lucky to have them. They're 2 physicians in that band.
Love 90s music.
So,
yeah.
do you all play a set and then let the other band come on, or do you go back and forth a little bit so the audience gets a nice mix?
Yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to toggle in between a live event. We're going to have some live discussions about the purpose of the fundraiser is obviously for COVID cancer relief. So we're going to talk a bit about what the purpose of the event is for, and we're going to showcase some real heroes, and then we're going to cut to the music. And then I think it's going to be a sequence like that where there's going to be music, but there's also going to be some interviews from, like I said, COVID heroes. We have an ICU nurse, we have a CNA, both of which got COVID and had really, really difficult experiences with it. We have a palliative care physician, we have some EVS personnel, and a nurse navigator that are all going to tell us their stories about COVID.
We're going to take a little more time with Dr. John Lyons, by the way. He's the founder of this event, and he is the chair of the Skin and Soft Tissue Multidisciplinary Care Team at Our Lady of the Lake Mary Bird Perkins Cancer Center. So we're going to continue with a little bit more and find out, but put it on your calendar and get it pulled up on your computer, put it on a tab, rockforspots.org, Thursday the 23rd at 7 p.m. And of course, we hope that you will make a donation as well. But these bands are a lot of fun. These are not just a bunch of guys in white coats messing around. They take this as seriously as they take their medicine, and they're all good musicians. We will continue with Dr. John Lyons. You're watching Exiles TV. A reminder, if you missed something, 10 o'clock tonight is this exact replay from 10 till midnight, and of course we will be up on YouTube under Pelican Broadcasting within before about 2 or 3 o'clock this afternoon. Back with more in just a moment on Exiles TV.
Hello guys, it's Debbie. It's time. I've got a brand new location. 10510 Airline Highway, Baton Rouge, next to After 5 Tuxedos. We have the perfect spot to get all your wedding and formal wear needs. Come see our one-of-a-kind name brand and get great prices. With 30 years experience, the best customer service anywhere. It's Debbie's Bridal, Airline Highway, Baton Rouge. See you soon.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling. Nothing could ever bring me down. Nothing could ever bring me down. Taste the feeling.
That's right, the Clarence Bug Show is back, along with the Exiles, Bill Profita and Kevin Gallagher. We've put the band back together, South Louisiana's talk team, and it's only on the Pelican. 10 a.m. till 12 noon, right here on the Pelican.
Hi, I'm Bobby Yarborough with Manda Fine Meats. Here at Manda, we know what the folks of South Louisiana love. They love great flavored smoked sausage, delicious deli meats, and specialty items like boudin and andouille sausage. Manda Fine Meats has been providing these products since 1947. We produce them right here in Baton Rouge, so you know you're always getting the freshest product at your local grocery store. Manda Fine Meats. Taste the fresh local flavor in everything we make. Make it Manda every time.
We're back. It's Exiles TV, and Bill's having a little.
Oh, we're back?
Yeah. You know when Marty says 3, 2, 1?
Well, he turns the other way and he mumbles. If you're a floor director, get out there and direct. Get in the middle of the floor and point fingers.
A few more minutes with Dr. John Lyons. Dr. John is with the Mary Beard Perkins Our Lady of the Lake Cancer Center and their upcoming event, which is going to be a virtual concert this year for obvious reasons, is Rock for Spots. Now, this thing started out as a skin cancer benefit, but now it's encompassing trying to raise money for all kinds of cancer research. I wanted to ask you as a musician, you're a guitar player, right? You said you do some rhythm, but you also do the leads. Give me a song you really like to rip it up on.
Well, we do a lot of originals, and
that's good. I like that.
And so our main focus has been writing original music, and we try to perform that. We have some covers that we do as well, but there are a couple of originals that really give us the opportunity to kind of showcase everybody's individual talents, and that's always fun. So when we can showcase the bass player, showcase the drummer, showcase the different guitar
nobody
players,
wants to hear a bass solo. Come on.
Oh,
I'm a bass player. Nobody wants to hear a bass solo.
Oh, sometimes you do.
I'm joking. I'm just joking.
Sometimes you do.
No, you're kind of right, Kevin.
Guitar influences?
Oh yeah, all the greats, the Stevie Ray Vaughns and the Jimi Hendrixes and the Jimmy Pages and the
Giants.
Peter Green, all of the usual suspects, and then of course all the local guys. I learned guitar by a New Orleans musician named Cranston Clemens. He's a tremendous influence on me. I can't play anything like him because he uses fingers, but he's tremendous. The local guys, the Slim Harpos, the Boogie Longs of the world. I mean, they're great.
Now, are you all physicians in your band?
No, two of us are physicians. One is a nurse, and one is a medical salesperson who used to be in radiology. So we're all kind of 4 of the 5 of us are healthcare professionals.
So the other physician, though, is he a surgical specialist or is he a medical specialist?
He's a radiologist.
Oh man.
Yeah.
That's got to be tough in a band. They're so reserved.
No, he's great. He's quite the audiophile. So he's good. He's really good, and he's got a lot of gear. and he's got a house where we can practice. So
even better.
That adds tremendous.
Isn't that the thing that's hard to come by with bands these days? Is some place to practice.
Exactly.
Yeah, it used to be. Does anybody have a minivan we can put all of our gear in?
That's right.
That kind of thing.
That's exactly right.
So, how often do you play other than for benefits like this?
Yeah, so, well, it's gotten pretty few and far between recently because of COVID, obviously. And unfortunately, nobody's really playing anywhere. And, even the professional guys are on the sidelines right now because all of the bars are closed and the nightclubs are closed. The musical venues are closed. Prior to this, we're usually playing maybe once a month. We've had some local attention at a couple of local venues, and it's been great. But right now, this is all we're doing right now.
Again, I want to remind everybody of the event. It is Rock for Spots, some terrific bands, and you've probably seen these bands play, but this is a big fundraiser that used to be in person. And I'm going to come around to that, but now it's virtual. It is online. You've got Fret Medics, Dr. Lyons Band. You got the V-Tones. You got Blue Verse. And it will be next Thursday, 7 p.m., rockforspots.org. And I want you to enjoy it, but I also want you to make a contribution to Mary Bird Perkins Our Lady of the Lake Cancer Center while you're enjoying it. Now, is it hard not to have an audience in front of you?
No, I don't. I mean, so it's a little double-edged sword, I think. Certainly, you pick up a lot of energy performing from the audience, and certainly you can feed off of that, and your performance many times will be better, for sure. There's a level of commitment that you have with the audience that you don't get in the absence of that. On the other hand, it's a lot more relaxed when there is no audience. So I guess we'll see the answer to that. We're kind of learning that, but I think there are advantages to both.
Well, my prayer is for the day when virtual concerts are no longer necessary.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think it's been very inventive and creative the way that musicians have, well, they've kind of had to, if they wanted to continue to perform, had to go to social media in order to do that. But I really look forward to the days when we can go out and visit a venue and have slam down a few drinks and hear a good live band again.
I got to say, though, I'm impressed with the electronics. This last season of American Idol, 3/4 of the season was all shot by iPhones at everybody's home, and the quality, audio and video, was terrific. So I'm sure you've got a real good tech crew.
We do. We've been very fortunate. We have some really good AV technicians that have been tremendous, and they've right, and their names are all posted on our Facebook page if anyone needs references. But they're very, very good, and I think the quality of the imaging and the audio that we're going to project is going to be great.
I think if we have to do this next year, God forbid, Kevin and I and the crew here, who are all former musical roadies, want to come and help you and want to put you on the roof of Mary Bird Perkins, kind of like the Apple concert, the last one the Beatles did.
Sure. Yeah, we'd love that.
We'll light you up and put you up on the roof.
I think that'd be great.
We'll bring our own mics.
I think that'd be great.
Doc,
are you guys going to play?
We might, if we get invited, we might.
I'll make the deal here that if you all do that, you got to play.
Okay.
We got to practice.
All right.
Yeah.
You got a year.
This much is certain.
And we got to get a drummer that doesn't annoy the hell out of us. Did I just say that?
We know a couple of drummers.
Maybe a tall order. I don't know. But,
we'll see what we can do.
We know a couple of drummers. We may be able to borrow one from somebody else's band.
And we are going to endeavor, by the way, to remind you all of this again on Tuesday. We're going to try to get Dr. Kurt Chastain from the V-Tones to come and sit right here so that we can remind you again, because this is a very, very important, big event. It's important because it does bring some joy to Mary Bird Perkins and Our Lady of the Lake Cancer Center, but it also brings in some much-needed donations. Dr. John Lyons is the founder of this event. His band is Fret Medics, and Dr. Lyons, thrilled to have you with us. Let's do it again.
Thank you very much.
Back in a moment.
Coming up on Exiles TV, we're going to look at the state of agriculture and forestry in Louisiana with Dr. Mike Strain, our Commissioner of Agriculture and Forestry. Coming up next.
Good job.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling. taste the feeling.
Hi, I am Dr. Farrell Frugier Jr., and I am a general dentist at Frugier Family Dentistry. I was born and raised in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I went to Catholic High School, LSU, and LSU School of Dentistry in New Orleans, where I received my DDS degree in 1986. I always have and will continue to be committed to continuing my education, to invest in technology which makes the diagnosis and delivery of dentistry more thorough, more comfortable, and more aesthetically pleasing. In our practice, we are here to serve the patients. We want to improve their quality of life and to develop relationships with our patients. In dentistry, we have a chance to impact lives on a daily basis, not just by doing dentistry, but by getting to know them and being a part of their life. We also believe in giving back to our community. So every year, we give back to the Greater Baton Rouge Food Bank, Toys for Tots, and Mary Bird Perkins Cancer Center. Please stop by and visit our office. We would love to take care of you and your family.
Hello guys, it's Debbie. It's time. I've got a brand new location. 10510 Airline Highway, Baton Rouge, next to After 5 Tuxedos. We have the perfect spot to get all your wedding and formal wear needs. Come see our one-of-a-kind name brand and get great prices. With 30 years experience, the best customer service anywhere. It's Debbie's Bridal, Airline Highway, Baton Rouge. See you soon.
State Treasurer John Schroeder, encouraging you to visit latreasury.com to search for your unclaimed property money. During this pandemic, we've returned money to businesses, local governments, and people across Louisiana.
New Orleans Habitat for Humanity found unclaimed property with the Louisiana Treasury.
Audubon Nature Institute has unclaimed property.
I found unclaimed property with the Louisiana Department of Treasury.
We still have over $800 million. This is your money. Claim it.
Clarence Bugg Show. Yeah, I'm back on the air. That's right, 10 a.m. until 12 noon, Monday and Wednesday, and we replay it Monday and Wednesday nights, 10 p.m. to midnight. Check us out online. You can watch it live at PelicanSportsTV.com, or better yet, why don't you just download the Pelican Broadcasting app? That way you can take it with you anywhere you go. That's right, the Clarence Bugg Show. Tell you what, oh, wait, gotta run, gotta go, bye.
From appetizers, pasta dishes, and entrees, La Contea takes pride in preparing all the Italian cuisine we know you love. Enjoy live music every Thursday through Saturday from 6 to 9, happy hour weekdays from 3 to 6, and brunch on Sundays from 11 to 2, as well as dinner portion-sized lunch specials for under $10. Visit our website to view our menu and book a party or meeting in our large banquet room. Once you try La Contea, your Italian dining will change forever.
Welcome back to Exiles TV. Bill Profita is over there. I'm Kevin Gallagher over here. And joining us now, I think for the first time on the television program, is our Commissioner of Agriculture and Forestry, Dr. Mike Strain. Glad to have you with us.
Man, I'm glad to be here. It's wonderful. It's really great. Y'all doing okay?
Doing great.
Good.
How has your department done through COVID? Let's start there.
We've been very fortunate. We do have, some of our employees have become ill. What we did early on, we have a program and a policy where we can separate and segregate duties. And so in any particular office, and I have 24 main locations and I have about another 35 secondaries, you would have in a small office, 1 out of 3 or 1 out of 4 would come on a rotational basis, and the entire office wouldn't come together. And so what we did is, my second in command, my deputy, works out of Hammond, I work out of here. So we're doing everything we can with social distancing. We have, done all the protections in the offices, but we have a contingency plan. If something happens to me, then Dr. Robbins takes over. If something happens to Dr. Robbins, then his deputy takes over. And so we have a plan. Now, that being said, what's happening now, there's a shift in the population that is getting the virus. We see more and more young people, then they come home and then their parents get it, the parents go to work, and then you have the exposures, and then you have the 14-day lockdowns. So we have a fair amount of people working from home. We have about 90% of the people actually out doing their job, but most of our job is mobile. We're in the field, we're inspectors, and everything. And so we are doing that. But the office personnel, we have set up a system to minimize direct contact and then to maximize our ability if one person is affected that we do not lose. We don't have to shut down, that we can keep going. We're using a lot more technology and a lot of these iPads. You know, as like I said, right at the end of the day, what do we do? Zoom out. I'm going home, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're doing a lot of Zoom, and we're doing that internally as well. And we're trying to be very safe. We have a strict mask requirement in the office, and you know, and everyone is washing their hands. They're doing everything they can to stay as safe as possible.
Farming and ranching are not by nature close quarter type work where you got to work right up close. Are you getting reports from our food producers?
The main problems where we've had is in the processing side.
Yeah, I can imagine.
You know, with
that.
our poultry plants and also with some of our crawfish plants where people were working
elbow to elbow,
and of course, in most cases, it's air conditioned and it's a humid environment.
Mm-hmm.
But what we've done is that, you know, when it started bringing, and it's cleaned, and then we segregate shifts. So in other words, when one shift comes in, it's 30 minutes. When they go out, it's 30 minutes before another one comes in. Continuous cleaning of break areas, continuous cleaning of bathrooms. I mean, continuous, like all day long. Cleaning, foaming, the whole building's cleaning, everything. So one of the main problems within our processors is when that number of workers, when they go home, they get back into their environment, and they're not getting sick at work so much as they're getting sick somewhere else and then coming to work, but also the universal screening where everybody gets their temperature taken, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if your temperature's hot, I'm sorry, you can't come in. And if you are in touch with a suspect, then a 14-day quarantine. Most farming operations are family by nature, and so the same individuals always work together. Plus, you're outside, you're in the sun, right? And normally, if you're on a tractor, it's just you. And so we've had a minimum impact there. And of course, some of our farm leaders, Louisiana Farm Bureau Federation, Ronnie Anderson, came very sick, and we were very ill. We were all, again, together with people from Washington, D.C., a few days before he got sick. And then, of course, you saw where Zippy Duvall of American Farm Bureau got sick. So our leadership that is involved in, the continuous meetings with people, that's where we've had the highest risk. So far, we've got our crops in the ground, and the crops are doing very well. I hope some of this rain that hit us last night went into North Louisiana. I was talking to Andy Anders, former representatives, and they're about how much water they need, so they could use a good inch. Well, we got 2, so we want to send them 1. But
our
we have
state's
good crops.
notorious for that, where we'll have tons of rain in one part of the state and the other an abject drought.
Well, I travel a lot and I fly a lot in very small aircraft, little single-engine aircraft. And what's amazing, you're in the sky, and when you talk about scattered showers, you can see them. You see one area, and I mean, it is a thunderstorm, and right next to it is dry as a bone.
Oh yeah, and
right?
sun beating down. And
when we were young, we used to plant a fair amount of corn on a small farm, and it would rain all the way around you. I just never could quite understand that. But scattered showers just mean that. But I tell you, they are intense. These showers, when we have storms, they are intense, and our weather is changing.
You got to worry about crop damage there?
Absolutely. Not only for wind, for lodging, hail is a big deal.
Oh, yeah.
And of course now one of our concerns is that we're concerned if the heat index gets too high, especially in soybeans. What happens if it gets too hot for too long, then what happens is that the flower doesn't progress all the way into soybeans. You'll have a beautiful crop, beautiful looking pods, and no beans if it gets too hot. And the same way, if you remember last year with our rice crop, right as we were at the pollination stage, we got this big storm, and it blew the pollen away. And so the weather can have more effects than just too wet, too dry, and that sort of thing. So we're always working with that. But by and large, we have the vast majority of our crop in the ground, and it's doing pretty well. We were very fortunate. We were able to get our crops in the ground about generally 2 weeks ahead of the rest of the United States. And the corn and beans throughout the Midwest are about 2 weeks behind, and maybe a little bit further, that we had better weather conditions than them. So that'll benefit us because we will harvest first.
Yes.
And we'll be able to sell the new market crop first. So that's good.
What are the markets looking like for our staples? Things like our rice and our soybeans. Have the commodities market been fairly stable, or did they take a big dip as well?
They
when
did
everything
not
else
take the
did?
big dip like the rest of the commodities. If you look what happened on the Dow, look what happened with oil. Commodities did. Now, commodities are not where they need to be. Rice right now is running about $12. It did not take a dip due to COVID. Rice did not, and that's why there were no payments to rice. Corn took a bit of a dip, so did soybeans. Corn's running about $3.23. Soybeans a little under $9. But if you see right now, rice consumption is up, and you've seen, just like in today's news, tuna fish went up because consumption. People are home. They're rediscovering their kitchen, and they're rediscovering rice. Now, that being said, on July 1, USMCA went into effect. And if you look at 30% of the rice that is produced in the United States goes to Mexico alone. And so with all these trade deals with Mexico and with Canada, Mexico's right now, Mexico and China are just bumping each other as to be the largest trading partner for agricultural products. And then Canada, 1, 2, 3. And of course, if you look at what's going on in China, they're about 50% of what they committed, but they committed to almost $40 billion, and they're at about 20. But they made some huge corn purchases of the new crop, this week. And so if we're looking where we're going, if we can get the vaccine, and you saw they'll be doing clinical trials in New Orleans starting, right?
Yep.
And they're doing clinical trials across the United States and the world, you're going to see these commodity prices moving up. What we do know is that each and every year, the supply and the demand gets tighter. And for a number of years, for several years in a row, the world consumed more rice than it produced. 1 out of 3 years, it consumed more wheat than it produced. If you look at our ability, our production compared to consumption and compared to population, right, it is very, very, very tight. And I think you're going to see a rise in commodity prices. 20% of the food that's exported to the world comes from the United States. We're in the export business, and I think that what's going to be very positive, these trade treaties mean something. They're important, and now we're going to start seeing the benefits of that.
We are a state where in years past and decades past, cotton was king. That's not so much the case. What kind of percentage of our
Well, right now, cotton is probably going to be at about 200, maybe 225,000 acres. Cotton is around 62 cents. An acre, and you have cotton acres are traditionally always cotton. It takes a lot of inputs for cotton, but now cotton is not affected by the heat like the other crops. Our number one crop as far as acreage is soybeans. We're running probably 1.25 million acres of soybeans. Compare that to 200,000 acres of cotton. And corn is probably around 450,000 acres. Sugarcane about 450,000 acres. If you look at overall crops, it's soybeans rivals number one as far as size of acres, but in value, timber is still higher at about $1 billion. And
I was going to ask about the timber
15 million acres of farm timber, farmed, and about 3.5 million acres of bottomland. So we have about 18 million acres in timber, but we have about 8.3 million acres in row crop too.
Now, when we're talking timber, is that almost exclusively like, high quality pine, or?
Oh, it's a combination of high quality pine that's used for lumber. It's also that we use it for paper and paper products.
Yes.
And then also now energy products with Drax. And also if you look at the hardwoods, paper, if you're looking at box paper, that paper is a combination of hardwood and softwood. It's a mixture. And so it's used everything from making boxes, cardboard, to bathroom tissue, to Scott towels, which are made here, all the way into lumber and other products, and now energy. Energy is a big part of that. We're also working to figure out a way that we can combine our leftover timber. In other words, the stuff after we harvest the high quality products, take the byproducts, and then combine that with sugarcane bagasse, make pellets out of that, and then send that to England and Europe to burn. That's right, Drax is working on, and that's a very, very exciting thing, because you have seen the bagasse mountains.
Yes.
We've got a ton of bagasse.
It seems a shame to just let it sit.
Right. Well, bagasse has been difficult to turn into energy because the fiber tends to stick together.
Yeah.
When they take the fiber from pulp and from wood, and then when they put it into a pellet, when they shoot it into that furnace, it goes in as a dust. And that dust burns hot, almost hot as coal. And so, but we're working on those issues, and there's a lot of other things that we can do. We're figuring out ways, and the other thing we're looking at, how do we deal with, we have these gypsum mountains, and how do we deal with that? And one of the things that gypsum has is sulfur. One of the changes since the Industrial Revolution, and we started burning gasoline in cars, we put sulfur in the air. The sulfur in the air did cause acid rain, but it also was predominantly responsible for sulfur in the soil across America. the sulfur in the soil raised our crop yields. And these crops use a lot of sulfur. And now we're finding out we have to add sulfur about once every 5 or 6 years to the crops. And this is going to be across America. And so like leftover materials from home sheetrock, that's ground up and it's put back into the soil as soil amendments. And so we're having to find ways. Sulfur is expensive. That's an expensive thing to add every 5 or 6 years. And we're trying to figure out how to use these gypsum, which is high in sulfur, and to utilize products such as that and return that back to the earth.
I ran into that myself. If you like to cook and you like sun-dried tomatoes in what you're cooking, if you go and if you pick up the package that is sulfured sun-dried tomatoes, it costs 3 times.
Well, sulfur can get up to $600 a ton.
Yeah, with the other sun-dried tomatoes.
Yeah, but the other exciting news, if you saw in the last few days, as we continue to talk about the effects of climate change, and now the Congress and others in the USDA are working to incentivize farmers to become carbon positive. In other words, they absorb more carbon than they release, carbon neutral, and start about carbon tax credits. And one of the big things we can do is with cover crops. You take that cover crop and it sequesters carbon, right? And then you plow that in for the next year, and that becomes a fertilization, right, of the soil. So we keep something growing all the time. A lot of positive things, a lot of exciting things going on.
We have to take a break. We will continue with our Commissioner of Agriculture, Dr. Mike Strain, in just a moment on Exiles TV.
Bellelo's Furniture and Appliances, your dependable independent. Depend on us for service, for selection, for price. Get huge Whirlpool savings. Shop now and save on Whirlpool appliances throughout the store. Plus, experience our price match guarantee and ask about special financing. You can depend on the know-how of people who live appliances every day. Bellelo's Furniture and Appliances, your dependable independent with nationwide buying power.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling. Nothing could ever bring me down. Nothing could ever bring me down. Taste the feeling.
That's right, the Clarence Bugg Show is back, along with the Exiles, Bill Profita and Kevin Gallagher. We've put the band back together, South Louisiana's talk team, and it's only on the Pelican. 10 a.m. till 12 noon, right here on the Pelican.
Hi, I'm Bobby Yarborough with Manda Fine Meats. Here at Manda, we know what the folks of South Louisiana love. They love great flavored smoked sausage, delicious deli meats, and specialty items like boudin and andouille sausage. Manda Fine Meats has been providing these products since 1947. We produce them right here in Baton Rouge, so you know you're always getting the freshest product at your local grocery store. Manda Fine Meats. Taste the fresh local flavor in everything we make. Make it Manda every time.
Sometimes life is wonderful, and sometimes it's not. Cherish the good, but always be prepared for life's challenges. At Private Healthcare, we provide the peace of mind you deserve. With Private Healthcare, you'll get the coverage you want and healthcare you need. If your employer doesn't supply healthcare coverage and you don't qualify for Medicare or Medicaid, you need to give us a call right now. Private healthcare is private health insurance for ages 65 and under with medical, dental, vision, and even prescription coverage. When life comes at you unexpectedly, you need to be ready, and health insurance is your financial safety net. Health insurance has never been so easy and affordable. If you're looking for health coverage at the best price and your annual household income is $35,000 or more, call the number on the screen now and speak with a live healthcare consultant. Don't wait. Get the coverage you need now.
Hello guys, it's Debbie. It's time. I've got a brand new location. 10510 Airline Highway, Baton Rouge, next to After 5 Tuxedos. We have the perfect spot to get all your wedding and formal wear needs. Come see our one-of-a-kind name brand and get great prices. With 30 years experience, the best customer service anywhere. It's Debbie's Bridal, Airline Highway, Baton Rouge. See you soon.
We're back with Exiles TV. I'm Kevin, he's Bill, and in the center chair is Dr. Mike Strain, the Louisiana Commissioner of Agriculture and Forestry. I wanted to ask you one more COVID-19 related. Part of your responsibility is to inspect the food that's being served and being created for people. How has COVID-19 affected your health inspections for food?
Well, we're continuing. We're doing all of our inspections, so all of our inspectors now, we have to be a lot more careful. But what has happened is that it has affected the processing plants. And so with the processing plants, a lot of them slowed down. And then you had market shifts. There have been tremendous market shifts in the products. And so institutional products are very different than that going into the grocery stores. And so we've had to adapt, and one of the responsibilities I have is to make sure there's always food at the grocery store. There's always something there. You may not get exactly what you want, but if there's a hiccup at a processing plant, or a hiccup getting milk, or something going on, how do we fix that? And how do we do it working together with the governor's office and GOSEP? And so our inspectors are in the field because, the majority of these products, they can't be processed unless we have eyes on. I mean, we are physically there. And so what happens, if one of our inspectors gets sick, then we have to have some redundancy, and we have very little redundancy. Over the budget cuts over the years, we're a very efficient machine. I mean, we're very tight. And then so we have to work to move those shifts around a little bit so we can keep everything open. We're trying to keep everybody open that needs to be open. One of the things is that a lot of people now want to open up slaughterhouses, locally processed meat. So we're working with some of the existing facilities so they can become state and or federally inspected as well. So we've had to do a lot of management, a lot of planning, but also have the ability to move. So we can have, you may have an administrative leader doing meat inspection one day because an inspector is out, but we make sure, because if that inspector's not there, then 100 people don't work that day, and all that product doesn't move, and that product is critical to get so the consumer has what they need.
So your staff sometimes having to wear 2-3 hats.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's common for us. We do that, especially in what we call the unclassified
Well, it wasn't
service.
always that way at Ag.
Probably not. No, when I got there, we had 1,006 employees. We now have about 550. And most of my unclassified, which means non-civil service, that's the people that I hire directly, not through civil service, and they're our leaders. Most of them have several functions. For instance, my deputy commissioner is also chief of staff, and he's also the state veterinarian. And so many people do multiple things at the same time, and that's how we were able to downsize. And quite frankly, when I took over, Ag was at about $5.7 billion. Now it's $13 billion. So our responsibilities have grown markedly, and our staff has stayed very stable for the last number of years. Hemp is a big program coming on. We do the medical marijuana program. We do Food Safety Modernization Act. We do a lot of things working with the federal government as well on a lot of these programs.
And you have to inspect every single scale in the state as
every
well.
Scale, and some of them, we inspect most of them once a year. We also inspect randomly. We also do it by complaint. But then others have to be inspected multiple times a year if they're involved in federal service as well. So every scale, every weighing device, every measurement. I'm also the commissioner of the Office of Metrology, weights, measures, and standards. So when you go and you pick up a quart of oil, it is a quart, and it is oil by the national standards. We test all of that. You get a gallon of gasoline. You get a mini sack of oysters, right? Then that's got to be 1/3 of a bushel, right? Or if you get a pound of frozen shrimp, we take that frozen shrimp, and there's a mechanism by which we thaw it, and then we weigh the net result of the shrimp, and it's got to meet all of these standards. So that's a huge part of what we do, and it's one of just one of the many divisions in the agency.
How big is your laboratory?
Well, we have multiple laboratories. We have the metrology lab where the state standards are kept. The national standards are in Washington. The state standards are kept in metrology in a totally controlled environment. Humidity, temperature, everything. Then we take other standards compared to those standards. And so we have a metrology lab. We have a big fuel lab where we test all the fuel, right? So we test it everything from octane to whether it's got water. We have where we test oils and other things, and we look at products there. And then we have a physical chemical laboratory. It's called AgriChem. That's located on LSU campus, and we do that in conjunction with LSU and the Ag Center, and that's the physical chemical. In other words, where we look at pesticides, herbicides, fungicides. We do what's called fern testing. We look at food products. We look for hydrocarbons there. That's where we do the marijuana testing, the hemp testing. So it's a very big laboratory. LSU School of Veterinary Medicine on LSU campus operates the Louisiana Animal Diagnostic Lab, LADL. They operate that on behalf of the department. And so then we have a seed laboratory, and seed is a huge deal. You think about it, any seed that is sold has to be certified, right? Mm-hmm. We look at germination. We look at to make sure that when you buy your seed, that's what you're getting. So you think about 8.3 million acres of row crop, well, that seed's got to be good. So seed, and plus we grow a lot of seed here. That's a huge business, the seed business. Seeds to be sold to grow a crop are far more valuable, right, than the food product, on a pound for pound basis. Mm-hmm. So we have a very big and active seed lab as well. So we have a host of laboratories that run simultaneously, and we have some highly talented people that are very dedicated that operate those.
The magnitude of the job just blows my mind.
Well, there's a lot more than Commissioner of Ag and Forestry. I'm one of the constitutional officers of the state, mm-hmm. and it's very specific in the Constitution, but I'm the Commissioner of Agriculture, which you think of traditional agriculture. I'm the Commissioner of Forestry, right? We're the largest firefighting team in the state. We cover 18 million acres in the state. Mm-hmm. I'm the Commissioner Office of Agriculture and Consumer Services. That's where the Office of Metrology is. That's also where we oversee all the grain elevators, all the cotton brokers. We're responsible for grading the grain, and plus all the fuel stations, all that. That's under ACS. Then we have agriculture and environmental services. So I regulate the entire pesticide industry. So any chemical that is utilized in Louisiana has to come through our office to be approved, and we oversee that. And we also, if you think about arborists, you think about florists, you think about landscape architects, if you talk about irrigators, all of that is within those realms. We're responsible for all plant diseases, and that's under agriculture and environmental sciences there. And the chemical industries, that's huge. The pest control, that's a mm-hmm. pest control, and just the pest mm-hmm. control is $1 billion. The fuel is $3.7 billion. I'm the Commissioner of Animal Health and Food Safety that oversees the auction markets and the livestock industry, plant and animal diseases. The animal diseases are there. We have the commission that has oversight, and it is a oversight over all of the animal shelters is there for the state. We do that. We work with our animal shelters across the state. But animal health, food safety, all of those parts of that to keep the disease. Our job is to keep the diseases of the animal and plant kingdom from ever reaching the pinnacle of the human world. That's our job, right? And so I'm also the Commissioner of Soil and Water Conservation. We have 44 district offices. We administer over $100 million a year of federal money through our soil and water conservation districts. Then we have what it falls into management and finance, and that's where the agricultural bank is, the medical marijuana program, mm-hmm. the food distribution systems. We have those very large warehouses where mm-hmm. we distribute USDA commodities, and we handle other commodities. We handle commodities for the prisons as well, and that goes through our system, the school lunches, food banks, all of that comes through that. And then we have the Office of the Commissioner where everything else is. We have a very large recreation area, a campground. That's at Indian Creek. It sits on 9,000 acres with a 2,400 acre reservoir, big beautiful lake. So we have Indian Creek Recreational Area. It's a state park, but it's called a recreational area because it's under Department of Ag and Forestry. So we have many responsibilities that we do, and so it keeps us very busy.
I have one last question for you, sir, and it's a crass money question. Did you get what you wanted out of the budget this year? And I've read that the governor is asking agencies to start planning efficiencies in anticipation of mid-year cuts.
Well, we were actually we're cut. We get cut every year, mm-hmm. right? We were cut, but they upped what they considered we would make through self-generated funds. The majority of our funding is self-generated by fees and services, then federal money, and just part of it is state general fund. we have reduced our state general fund by over 50% since I got there. So it's just there's a minority amount, and so we're kind of used to that. But state general fund predominantly operates the Office of Forestry, some in animal health and food safety, the meat inspection program, and some in management and finance. And so setting aside 10% of state general fund when most of it goes to Office of Forestry, okay? And so that would be very, very difficult. But as usual, we're doing all that we can to be as conservative as we can, but the majority of our money is self-generated.
Commissioner Mike Strain. Dr. Strain, every time we have you on, I learn something.
Thank you. Yes.
And
we are all lifelong learners.
Yeah, and I hope all the people in the Pointy Building downtown start to learn some things as well and stop cutting your budget. But we appreciate everything you look after, and we look forward to the next time we can visit on this program.
Remember, agriculture is the largest industry in Louisiana and the largest industry in America.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mike Strain. We will be back to wrap up the show in just a moment on Exiles TV. Stick around.
For Total Home Pest Control, who are you going to call?
Call the Bug Man, 923-BUGS.
For total pest control for your home or business, call the original Salvat.
Call the Bug Man today, 923-BUGS.
Hi, I am Dr. Farrell Fruget Jr., and I am a general dentist at Fruget Family Dentistry. I was born and raised in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I went to Catholic High School, LSU, and LSU School of Dentistry in New Orleans, where I received my DDS degree in 1986. I always have and will continue to be committed to continuing my education, to invest in technology which makes the diagnosis and delivery of dentistry more thorough, more comfortable, and more aesthetically pleasing. In our practice, we are here to serve the patients. We want to improve their quality of life and to develop relationships with our patients. In dentistry, we have a chance to impact lives on a daily basis, not just by doing dentistry, but by getting to know them and being a part of their life. We also believe in giving back to our community. So every year, we give back to the Greater Baton Rouge Food Bank, Toys for Tots, and Mary Bird Perkins Cancer Center. Please stop by and visit our office. We would love to take care of you and your family.
Hello guys, it's Debbie. It's time. I've got a brand new location. 10510 Airline Highway, Baton Rouge, next to After 5 Tuxedos. We have the perfect spot to get all your wedding and formal wear needs. Come see our one-of-a-kind name brand and get great prices. With 30 years experience, the best customer service anywhere. It's Debbie's Bridal, Airline Highway, Baton Rouge. See you soon.
Clarence Bug Show. Yeah, I'm back on the air. That's right, 10 a.m. until 12 noon, Monday and Wednesday, and we replay it Monday and Wednesday nights, 10 p.m. to midnight. Check us out online. You can watch it live at PelicanSportsTV.com, or better yet, why don't you just download the Pelican Broadcasting app? That way you can take it with you anywhere you go. That's right, the Clarence Bug Show. Tell you what, oh, wait, gotta run, gotta go, bye.
Welcome back to Exiles TV. Once again, our thanks to all the doctors on our program today. Dr. Beau Clark, the coroner. Dr. John Lyons with Brett Medics from Our Lady of the Lake, Mary Bird Perkins Cancer Center, and Dr. Mike Strain, our Commissioner of Agriculture and Forestry.
You know, what you said to Dr. Strain right before we went to break, we always learn something.
Always learn something.
Always learn something from Dr. Strain, but I feel the same way about Dr. Beau Clark, our parish coroner, and I learned a lot from listening to Dr. Lyons today, too.
Yes, indeed.
And I am going to be one of those watching on Facebook Live next Thursday night for Rock for Spots.
And we're going to remind you of this again.
Rock for Spots, by the way, is what you want to search for. Go to Facebook, type in the search engine, your search field, Rock for Spots. It'll take you right to their website where you can watch the event live. But yeah, we're going to talk with Dr. Chastain.
We're going to try to get Kirk Chastain of the V-Tones.
Tell him to bring his guitar.
Well, you know, I put out Scott Miller, who does the the primary public relations for Mary Bird Perkins Our Lady of the Lake Cancer Center, I said, we got a bunch of musicians and band guys in this studio. We'd love you to set up a band.
Hell yeah.
One of the bands, and let them do a couple numbers, and then we'll do an interview. And he said, that may be difficult. Because
they're doctors.
Well, they all see patients, you know, and I'm sure that when Dr. Lyons left here, he went right back to MVP OLOL and had patients that he needed to see.
One guest I'm booking for a future date is John Schneider. He's been too busy to get on the show.
You found John?
He's got his big annual birthday party going on out in Livingston Parish, and I just couldn't get him on the program. So we're going to get John Schneider on the show. But one of the things I love about John is that he always brings his guitar. When he's on our radio show, he'd bring his guitar, and he'd sit there, and during the interview, he'd just be strumming and picking, and you never knew when he was going to break into song. Tell Curtis, do the same thing. Bring an amp, we'll put a mic on the amp, and he can just,
Now,
talk a little, pick a little, talk a little, pick a little.
I go back a long way with John Schneider because of Karen and Children's Miracle Network. And I go back a long way with Kurt Chastain.
Yes.
Who's the bigger ham? I mean, if we get them both in here in the same week picking their guitars, the Jewish Defense League may protest outside our studios because we have so much ham in here.
I don't like to think of John as a ham. He's a natural-born performer.
There's nothing wrong with being a ham.
I remember one time when he was on our radio show, he said, I like to think of myself as a singer and guitar player who acts, not an actor who sings. And I kind of took to that. But Schneider's just a good guy, and he's trying to do things, for the local community, and we're going to get him on the program. They said, call us after the 21st, we'll talk. So we'll get him on the show.
Well, the same thing. Kurt Chastain is a very highly trained, highly skilled, and well-respected physician. But I think he'd tell you that I'm a guitarist and singer who just happens to practice medicine. So it'd be nice if we get them both together. They could jam.
I would love that.
You and I go in the back, have a cocktail?
Yeah, we got a bar 20 feet from us, man. We could go right over here and take care of some business. But that's going to be a couple of upcoming shows. And another thing next week is we're going to have another visit from John Schroeder, the state treasurer.
Wonderful.
Planning on being with us on Tuesday. There's a couple different things that the state treasurer wants to talk about. Not just unclaimed property, like has been the theme in the past, but there are other things, including the Main Street project, which we talked about a Main Street project that was about beautification of Main Streets. That's a completely different thing. This is a Main Street project for small businesses to make some money, get some help recovering from this COVID-19 shutdown. And now we're back into I guess now the bars are the ones that are really up against it with COVID-19 since the governor's last mandate.
Well, and
he shut the bars back down. And we're having a statewide wear a mask mandate, which that's ever the battlefield on social media: wear a mask or not wear a mask.
And you talk about somebody we need to get on the show. We have all of our good friends in the restaurant business that we've become very fond of over the years. Stan Harris of the Louisiana Restaurant Association says right now, today, you could have 25% of the restaurants in this state permanently closed. So, we're not out of the woods yet, and particularly service industry, they're having it tough.
Oh my God, K. Paul's Louisiana Kitchen in the French Quarter, closing their doors forever.
Well,
due to COVID-19.
Isn't that awful? Thank you all for being with us today. Again, remember the replay at 10 p.m., and we have our podcast tomorrow morning from La Divina on Facebook Live. Until we see you again, be well.
God bless.